You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, Days of Our Lives fans. This is Soap Dirt on YouTube, and we have got a treat for you this week. We are trying something new. We are going to recap the entire week on Days of Our Lives for you, June 19th through 23rd, 2023. If you have not been keeping up with the show, if you don't have time, if you don't want to mess with Peacock, we're going to tell you everything that happened so that you know what is going on and you can get all caught up on your favorite soap for whatever reason that you might have missed these episodes. Before we dig in, if you have not already, please reach down, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our Days of Our Lives spoilers, casting news, promos, updates, and more. Okay. On Monday, June 19th, it was Juneteenth in Salem, and we had Eli Grant show up, and Olivia Price was there, and Theo Carver was there in Salem, because not only was it Juneteenth, but it was Paulina and Abe's 1-year anniversary, and we saw Talia out putting up Abe missing posters, and Chanel sees her doing it, and she wants to know why she's doing it, and she just says she wants to help. And then she talks to Chanel about how she was abused by Colin Bedford, and it was emotional abuse, and she's now seeing a therapist, and she realizes what was happening to her and why he was able to influence her into doing the bad things she did to her and to her mom, Paulina. And then we've got Abe and Whitley scenes, and he remembers his anniversary with Paulina, and she covers, he wants to see a picture, and she does some Photoshop and just all that weirdness. But basically, she tries to say that she lost their wedding album in a flood, and then she Photoshops a picture together really quickly. So that was the bulk of Monday's episode. Tuesday was June 20th. And we got Gwyn Rizczech and Dimitri von Leuschner hitting the sheets, and him trying to convince her that he's fallen head over heels for her and proposing marriage to her. And she is completely stunned. And we see her bestie, Leo Stark, over at the DiMera mansion. He creeped up on Megan Hathaway. Remember, he knows his way through those lower tunnels and everything, and he came up through the secret door, which really startled Megan. But then she realized, oh, he doesn't know that I have 2 captives down there. He's just here to talk about his friend. And he called Megan a mustache twirler, which was a really funny way to describe an old school villain. And if she was a guy, she definitely would be a mustache twirler. So then Leo goes back and walks in on Gwyn and Dimitri doing the deed, and he is not happy at all. Meanwhile, Gabi Hernandez and Stefan DiMera were busy planning their wedding, and they run into Julie Williams out with Eli Grant, and Stefan makes this joke about his heart being in Julie's chest, because you may remember that he did get a heart. His heart was given to Julie to save her life, but then he wound up with his dead twin Jake's heart. So Julie tells Stefan about all the stuff that Gabi did, where she basically made Lonnie Price beg her on her hands and knees for the heart donation. And then she made Lonnie break up with Eli, and she had hacked into Julie's pacemaker and had an app where she could basically give her a heart attack at a moment's notice. And it was just so kind of wild. And what was really interesting about this scene is Stefan's reaction to Gabi. Julie Williams thought that he would just be horrified and off-put, but he tells Gabi right in front of them that he's never been more proud of her. He is applauding her efforts. So it was a really funny little scene. We also got more of Abe doubting Whitley, and actually I think she might have pulled out the fake wedding photo on Monday, Tuesday. Just more of their same nonsense where he's in that little apartment and it's just weird. Wednesday, June 21st, we saw Maggie Horton in a rage because Alex Kyriakis cut a deal. Remember that guy Yuri that was on that didn't make the deal with Titan, and then she blamed Alex for the deal going bad and fired him? Well, turns out Alex cut that deal for Yuri with Basic Black. So Brady and Alex closed the deal. Maggie heard about it and she was furious, and she came over to confront the two of them. Brady wasn't too happy to hear that Alex had kind of snaked that opportunity out from under the other company, but he said, look, Yuri wasn't going to do business with them anyway, so it doesn't matter. But Maggie is on fire. She goes over to see Chad and interrupts Chad and Stephanie, who had talked about moving in together, and they're getting ready to do some house hunting. At any rate, she busts in there at the Horton house and offers Chad the job that Alex had, and he is very intrigued. Stephanie's a little worried because she knows how worked up Maggie is about Alex. Then we have Bonnie and Justin talking about how they feel bad about keeping this baby secret away from Xander. And we're going to see Chad and asking Stephanie to move in, and she agrees. And then we're also going to have Xander telling Chloe that he thought Bonnie was being really weird, and they wonder if it's something about Sarah rather than something about Mimi, like she said. Thursday, June 22nd, Sarah shows up and interrupts Rex's hot yoga, and hot meaning he was shirtless and looking really good. And she plays him this voicemail from Bonnie, and then she calls Bonnie in a panic, and she finds out that according to Bonnie, that Xander is now banging Chloe. Of course, that hasn't happened yet, but it does happen the following week. But so by the time that, Sarah shows up in Salem, which I have to assume she will, then Xander will have bedded her. But Sarah is shocked to hear that Xander is living with Chloe, and Bonnie advises Sarah to tell him about the baby so that he'll dump Chloe. Sarah's so upset that she kisses Rex, but he puts a stop to it because he knows she's not over her ex. So we also have Brady and Alex wondering what Maggie might do in retribution for them snaking that deal from her, which is her outlook, not necessarily there. And then Belle tells Brady that Kristen wanted to dispute the custody agreement, and then she kind of has fallen out of communication, and they're both wondering, why aren't we hearing more from her? Well, that's because she's down in the tunnels locked up with EJ. We're also going to see Stephanie warning Chad that Maggie might screw him over too, like she did Alex, because she said that CEO Maggie is very different from the other Maggie. Plus, Xander and Chloe agree to take things slow while getting over their exes. And Sarah definitely admits that she's not over Xander. And then we get a montage of Alex thinking about Stephanie, Sarah thinking about Xander, Xander thinking about Sarah, and then Brady and Chloe thinking about each other. So that was a nice little thing. Then we ended the week on Friday, June 23rd with Belle Black representing Talia as they meet with DA Trask about the charges. And at first, Trask is going to throw the book at her, but then she backs off once she realizes that Talia was abused, because it turns out that DA Trask also was in an abusive relationship once, and she feels very sorry for her. So she gives her community service, probation, stuff like that. So she definitely gets away with most of the stuff she has done. Meanwhile, Whitley brings in fake Theo. And as a matter of fact, what's interesting, this actor that you see playing this actor dude named Jerry is the young man who actually played Theo years ago from 2008 to 2015 before they aged him up and Cameron Johnson got the part. So that's kind of a neat throwback. But Jerry is having a crisis of conscience about lying to Abe until Whitley blackmails him and reminds him that when his grandma didn't have insurance, she made sure she got medical care. So he agrees to try again. We also see Eli calling Whitley in for an interview, and she's acting really weird and saying her cat is sick. But then when he says he'll stop by to see her, she's like, oh no, I'll come to the jail. And she keeps kind of contradicting prior things she said and changing her statement. And then when Eli's out of the room, she says to herself that Abe has to die. So we also see Abe having a flash of memory of the real Theo, and he suspects that this other young man is lying to him for some reason. We also see that Mama Olivia has left town, and Chanel telling Paulina that Talia was abused. before we get to our very last little bit of recap for Friday, June 23rd, if you haven't, please reach down, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our Days of Our Lives hot videos and spoilers. All right. So the last thing is Kate telling Jada that she should go for it with Rafe because life is too short. And of course, Kate just had that near-death experience. And then Rafe shows up at her door and Jada greets him in just a towel. And that towel is going to get dropped next week. What are you most excited to see based on this? And let us know if you enjoyed this because we're thinking we might keep doing it if we get enough response and if people like to hear it and if you want to get caught up on Days of Our Lives this way. Let us know.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.